I wanted to talk to my wife, and I had a plan, like a series of chess moves. I sat at the kitchen table waiting for my wife to come home from work, with a glass of scotch in my hand and a glass of wine ready for her. I wouldn't normally be home for another hour, and the look of shock on Jessie's disheveled face was amusing. "We need to talk, Jessie." "Does it have to be now, Jack? You know I'm meeting my friends on Friday night, and I need to get ready. Can we talk when I get home or tomorrow morning?" I could smell sex across the room. "You'll be too drunk when you get home, and I won't be there in the morning." "Are you taking your camper for a test drive?" Jessie looked smug. I hadn't told her about the camper, but I hadn't tried to hide it either. It was just easier to leave it at the dealership until I was ready to take it out. I wondered how she knew, but I had a lot more cards to play in this little chess game. Jessie looked uncomfortable as she sat down. "Can I take a quick shower, Jack?" I nodded in agreement. She smelled so bad it made me nauseous. After her shower, Jessie asked, "Why did you come back so early, Jack?" "I retired today, Jessie. It was a beautiful ceremony." Big plus for me. "Why didn't you tell me, Jack? I would have loved to come." "Our children were there, and if our granddaughter gets any cuter, my heart will burst when I see her next time." Another point in my favor. "You invited the kids and not me, Jack?" "Did you really believe I wanted you to be there? Besides, I know you're busy with your meetings with John on Fridays, and I didn't want to disappoint you." Big point for me. "I broke up with him today, Jack." "I know. Just like I know you're planning to break up with George tonight. Let me get this straight. Did I understand your message to John correctly? I need to stop seeing you. I need to fix my marriage. Jack and I are retiring soon, and I want to spend my golden years with him." How did John react? Our daughter Kate almost wet herself laughing when she read that. Jessie stood up and slammed her fists on the table. "What have you done, Jack? You've dragged our children into this." Jessie tried to collect herself. A couple more moves, and she would have checkmated him. "Today is the anniversary of your first affair with Paul, or the first one I found out about." "Kate found out. She saw you going into the hotel, and I believe you were still seeing Paul at the time. She told her brothers, and the three of them came to see me. Of course, I already knew. I had been waiting for this moment for a year, retiring and getting rid of the drunken whore I had married. We hadn't been close for 2 years. Jessie was usually drunk by 9, and she was ugly when she was drunk. She probably looked better in the bars where she met her lovers, or maybe they had lower standards. When she started dating Paul, I moved into the guest room. "So what now, Jack? I need to see George, you know?" "George won't see you today, I believe. He's having a similar conversation with his wife Cindy right now, or maybe she's kicking him out. When I last spoke to her, she hadn't made up her mind yet." "Jack, she didn't need to know you were destroying their marriage." I know I flinched with anger. Point for Jessie. I tried to control myself, but it was impossible. It was my turn to stand up and slam my fist on the table. Yes, she needed to know that her husband was entertaining my whore of a wife who slept with a bunch of other men. Who knows what diseases she's picked up, although she does because after I warned her, she got tested and has 3 STDs, and I'm willing to bet you have at least as many. And which one of us really destroyed their marriage? Me or the whore sitting across from me? I sat back down, embarrassed that I had let the anger that had been building up for a year come out. Jessie was crying now, and I wondered why, but I earned a couple more pawns. She looked at her hands, twisting her fingers. "I know I ruined everything, Jack. You don't have to call me names. I call myself names when I look in the mirror. That's why I broke up with John and George. I couldn't look at myself anymore." Jessie piqued my curiosity. "What led you to that realization, Jessie? I'm curious." "I quit drinking, Jack. Didn't you notice that I haven't touched that glass of wine or had any alcohol in weeks?" It took me a while to break the habit, especially when I realized what I had become. Oh, how I wanted to drink. You and our children may have laughed at my intention to save our marriage, but I was sincere. The hope that I would spend my golden years with you gave me the strength to quit drinking, even though I missed a few days of work because of withdrawal. I didn't know that Jesse had quit drinking, and now I had to collect my thoughts. Why, Jesse? Why what, Jack? Why did I drink myself into oblivion every night? Or why did I start cheating on you? The answer to both questions is the same. Like most women, I reached an age where I was no longer attractive. When you're a little girl, your self-esteem is based on being a beautiful princess, then a gorgeous cheerleader, then a beautiful bride. For a woman, looks are everything. Men hold doors open for you, cops let you off with a warning, and a smile at the waiter gets you better service. And then, just like that, it all stops. You believe it will never change, but it happens in the blink of an eye. My friend cried for an hour when she got her first speeding ticket. Waiters no longer look me in the eye, and I'm lucky if anyone holds the door open for me. And I drown my sorrows in a bottle of wine, or several bottles of wine, and even you stopped finding me attractive. And then I went out with the girls from work, and there were men who found me attractive. I felt so special. I was thrilled, like I was in school. Before Paul, there were a few guys, one-night stands, after which I was tormented by remorse. But a bottle of wine, of course, eases the remorse. I saw the papers on the chair next to you. Is that where you're filing for divorce? Is this your final plan? Is this where I become the ugly ex-wife? That was my plan, Jesse. I'm begging you, don't throw them away. I know I ruined everything, and I'm afraid I'll fall apart without you. On Monday, I'm going to file for retirement. And let's just try to make our dreams of golden years come true. If I screw up, file for divorce, and I won't fight it. You'll get everything. The house, the retirement savings, everything. I'll leave with nothing. Have your lawyer draw up the papers with those terms, and I'll sign them. You won't lose a thing. So, you're going to have a year of fun with no consequences? I said, standing up and hitting the table again. How dare she think I still wanted to be with her, to turn a blind eye to her year-long sex marathon with other men. Those few words sparked a storm of anger in me, and I spat. Jessie leaned back in her chair. I wish there were no consequences, Jack. Go have fun. I'm sure Cindy will be happy to get revenge on you, just like John's wife did. And when you do, look in the mirror and tell me there are no consequences, because every time I look in the mirror, I feel like a stupid whore with no self-respect. Suddenly, I found myself in the position of the loser, and my king had run away. What the hell just happened? Jessie was looking at me, tears streaming down her face. 20 minutes ago, I hated her with every fiber of my being. Unlike when we were younger, after a certain amount of wine, Jessie would sleep with anyone, and John and George took advantage of that. I must have a dozen videos that John, George, and Jessie shared with each other of a very drunk Jessie entertaining several men. I'm sure she doesn't even know how many men there actually were. Now I felt sorry for her and wanted to go hug her. My mind was in a vicious circle. What had happened to my plan? Checkmate was close. Where was the rage that had been raging through my body just seconds ago? I'm going to sleep, Jessie. Let's talk in the morning. That's fair, Jack. I couldn't ask for more. But I'm still filing for divorce on Monday, and I don't want to stay in this house or this neighborhood. The little girl who wanted to grow up to be so decent and proper is too ashamed to show her face in this town, and I'm too ashamed to show my face to my children. What about STDs, Jessie? Are you going to get treated? Welcome to my big world of reality. I already knew about it, and I'm getting treatment. John and George know. You have no idea how embarrassing it is to fill out forms so the health department can notify your lovers and you don't even know their numbers, let alone their names or faces. When I screw up, I screw up. Jessie stood up and poured the rest of the wine into the sink. She returned to the table with a glass of V8 juice. That crap is supposed to cleanse your system. I can't think of any other reason why anyone would drink that. Where are you going in the camper? I took a map out of my briefcase and began showing her the route I had planned to the waterfalls. We discussed the various stops I had planned, the different waterfalls, and the hikes required to see them. We sat there, our legs touching, and the hostility of the past few years melted away. Jesse and I were so engrossed in conversation that we didn't notice our daughter Kate coming in with our granddaughter. "I didn't know what to expect, but this definitely wasn't what I expected," she said, handing the baby to Jesse. The child was no longer a baby. She was almost 3 years old, but she loved her grandmother very much. I hesitated a little. After the retirement ceremony, I had discussed with Kate and her brothers my plans to file for divorce from Jesse that evening. They were very supportive, only asking why I had waited so long. There was something in Kate's smugness that told me she had expected to see this. Kate joined Jesse and me at the table, and I flipped through my map again. I was very proud of my map. As Mary Shelley said, "Nothing so calms the mind as a fixed purpose, a point on which the intellect can fix its intelligence." And over the past year, working on that map had calmed my mind. I would sit down to work and not notice the hours passing until I stood up. I felt like a little kid showing his friends what he got for Christmas. My excitement was contagious. Finally, we ordered pizza, and the 4 of us sat down at the kitchen table talking about waterfalls. It was the first time in a year that Jesse and Kate had sat at the same table. Even during the recent holidays, Kate had preferred to spend time with her husband's family. There was a pause in the conversation, and Jesse turned to Kate and said, "Jack told me you think it's funny that I need to fix my marriage to spend my golden years with him. I'm serious. I quit drinking a few weeks ago, and without alcohol dulling my senses, I realized who I had become. Quitting drinking was hard, not just because of the physical addiction, but because of the shame of all the memories that came flooding back, and I wanted to press the reset button. The dream of spending my golden years with your father was the only thing that saved me. I understand that you're angry at me for the pain I caused your father, or that you're ashamed of my actions, and you have every right to feel that way, just as I do." Kate stood up and began to pace the room. Finally, she said, "I will support whatever decision my father makes on this matter. Yes, I'm angry and ashamed of what you did, but what really kills me is the question, why you and not me? Am I not my mother's daughter, doomed to repeat the same mistakes? What's to stop me from disgracing my own daughter? As I told your father, women lose their attractiveness as they age. It happens to all of us. How you choose to act is entirely up to you. My first and biggest mistake was that I started drinking to mourn the loss of my beauty. There's a lot of literature on this subject, such as, 'What happens to a beautiful princess when she grows old?' or something like that. And then, when I started drinking, I started making bad decisions, which led to deep depression, which in turn led to even more drinking and even worse decisions. There is a lot of advice out there, such as, see a psychologist instead of drinking wine. What about you two? I saw you when I came in. I haven't seen you sitting so close in years. Are you kissing and ready to go away in your dad's camper to enjoy your golden years?" Kate was still pacing the room. "This is what I want, Kate, and I wanted it even before I quit drinking. I asked your father to give me another chance." "You want another chance after all the men you've slept with? Did you enjoy that?" Now it was Kate's turn to get angry. "I don't remember much, and what I do remember scares me more than it scares you. And yes, Kate, I want another chance. That's what I want. I asked your father to put off the divorce. I agreed to sign a prenuptial agreement, giving up any rights to our property if I screw up again, or even start drinking again. He wants to think about it." "Did I miss anything important, Jack?" "No, Jesse, but I believe Kate understands that traveling the country in a camper was our long-time dream for retirement. I still plan to do that. The question is whether your mother will join us. Part of me would like her to. Your mother and I were a very good couple until she started drinking. I want to think about this." "Will you ever be close to her again, Dad?" This brought tears to Jesse's eyes again. "One question at a time, Kate. We don't have to solve world hunger today. I hugged Jessie and she buried her face in my shoulder. Our granddaughter climbed back onto Jessie's lap. The three of us hugged. Kate shook her head, picked up her daughter, and left. Jessie said she was going to bed and we'd see her in the morning. I returned to the kitchen table with a glass of fresh scotch in my hand and wondered what had happened to my plan. Jessie was on the brink. I was 2 steps away from victory. Had I been outmaneuvered? If so, how? I replayed the evening in my head a dozen times and was no closer to an answer. George's wife, Cindy, sent me a message. I kicked George out. He tried to blame everything on Jessie, which made me even angrier. Some of the videos clearly showed that Jessie was drunk and therefore not responsible for some of her actions. I told George he was a despicable man, and I was ashamed he was the father of my children. I'll make sure his kids know what a despicable man he is. How are things with Jessie? Not going according to plan, I replied. I don't believe it, Jack. I've known you both for a long time, and you're so right for each other. You still love her, and now that she's stopped drinking, maybe you can make it work. If not, call me. You've always been the sexiest husband in our little group, and I'm claiming you. Your plan was very logical, but logic is the first casualty of love.